Most people in Britain think life was better when they were growing up, according to a survey by Demos, the formerly Blairite think tank. Is that what Brexit is all about, turning the clock back to a sepia-tinted version of 1973? I have written before about how Theresa May is a deliberately old-fashioned politician. She wanted to build a bridge back to a semi-mythical past. She wanted to bring back hunting, grammar schools and an industrial strategy. None of the policies survived the 2017 election, but the interesting thing about that campaign was that it was a clash of rival nostalgias. Jeremy Corbyn is just as backward-looking a politician. His manifesto offered nationalised railways, free university education and a return to wider home ownership. For all that Corbyn's supporters claimed that he offers to transform society, overthrow capitalism and usher in a true socialism that has never been tried because they don't mention Venezuela anymore, it was remarkable how much of his program was bring backery. Bring back trade union rights, bring back 1970s levels of equality, bring back water, energy and the Royal Mail into public ownership. Indeed, a surprising finding of the Demos poll was that Labour voters were more likely than Conservatives to be nostalgic. 70% said life was better when they were growing up, compared with 59% of Tories. Even more surprising was that young people are more nostalgic than their elders. 71% of those aged 25 to 34 said life was better when they were growing up, compared with 63% overall. If we define growing up as ages 5 to 18, then for them the golden age was the 90s and what Americans call the aughts, 2000 to 2010. And if it is nostalgia that they feel, then many of them are nostalgic for things, such as British Rail, they never knew. This is not how things used to work. For those of us nostalgic for the ancient verities of centrist politics, the one thing parties and leaders had to do was to own the future. A politician who was stuck in the past was a loser and the winner would be the one with the best plan to take advantage of the opportunities of the future. That is why forward is the word that features so often in manifesto titles. It even featured in the Conservative offering last year, Forward, Together in case you have forgotten. No party would put backward in its slogans. The closest we get it is Keep Things the Same, or Conservative, in one of the party's names. Demos found, in focus groups conducted as part of its research, that people disliked being called nostalgic and thought it was pejorative. But this swing to looking back is a dramatic change. From the dominance of Tony Blair and David Cameron, the modernisers, to May and Corbyn. With the election of Corbyn as leader and then the Brexit vote, both main parties have reversed the 2005 Labour manifesto title, Forward Not Back. Naturally, it is more complicated than that. Public opinion is mixed and inconsistent. The degree of nostalgia depends on how you ask the question. Pew Research put the nostalgics in a minority last year, with 41% saying life was better than 50 years ago, 1967, and 35% saying worse for people like me. Demos' wording, about whether life was better when you were growing up, may have confused things with an element of did you have a happy childhood? And it is worth remembering that when Blair started to catch the public's eye, what was different about him was his social conservatism. Tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. He stood out in the Labour Party because he talked about strong families. William Buick Ridding Massa celebrates crossing the line and winning the Investec Derby race on Derby Day at Epsom Downs. traffic passes anti-Brexit signs on the County Derry/Londonderry, Northern Ireland and County Donegal in the Irish Republic. Northern Ireland could be given joint EU and UK status and a buffer zone on its border with the Republic, under new plans being drawn up by David Davis, according to reports. Eleanor Crossy Malone displays an abortion pill packet after taking a pill as abortion rights campaign group Rosa, Reproductive Rights Against Oppression, Sexism and Austerity distribute abortion pills from a touring bus in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Flouting Northern Irish governmental laws which forbid the use of abortion pills, the group are also protesting outside offices belonging to the main political parties in the province. Women in Northern Ireland have been prosecuted for buying abortion pills over the internet, and it is illegal for a woman to have an abortion unless in special circumstances, unlike the rest of the United Kingdom. The Republic of Ireland voted in favour of pro-choice last week in a referendum. West Midlands police officers carrying out scene searches near to where a 15-year-old boy was fatally stabbed in Wolverhampton. A view at Westminster Abbey from the medieval Triforium that is hosting an exhibition in London. The Queen's Diamond Jubilee Galleries, set more than 16 metres, 52 feet, above the Abbey floor in the medieval Triforium, will open to the public for the first time on June 11, displaying over 300 treasures from the Abbey's collection which will tell the rich 1,000-year history of the institution at Westminster Abbey. People enjoy the hot weather on Bournemouth Beach during Bank Holiday Monday in Dorset. Chris Ashton of the Barbarians scores against England at Twickenham. Lightning strikes over the City of London. Rory McIlroy took the clubhouse lead into round 3 of the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. Alistair Cook batting against Pakistan during the first Test match of the summer at Lord's Cricket Ground, London. Home Secretary Sajid Javid speaking at the annual conference of the Police Federation of England and Wales at the International Convention Centre in Birmingham. Felix, too, sits next to messages and flowers left in Manchester, ahead of the Manchester Arena National Service of Commemoration at Manchester Cathedral to mark 1 year since the Manchester attack. Marcio and Andrea Gomez, parents of Logan Gomez, arrive for a commemoration hearing at the opening of the inquiry into the Grenfell Tower disaster, in London. Brackley Town celebrate after winning the Build-based FA Trophy final after they beat Bromley on penalties at Wembley Stadium. Actress Meghan Markle reaches Prince Harry at the altar in St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle for their wedding service. Workers from the Covent Garden branch of TGI Fridays on the picket line outside the restaurant as they strike in a dispute over pay. Members of Unite are taking action on Friday in a row over tips and payment of the minimum wage. A police officer talks to a homeless man in Windsor ahead of the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Wing Commander John Butcher, commanding officer of 617th Squadron, left jokes with Britain's last surviving dam buster, squadron leader George John E. Johnson, during an event to mark the 75th anniversary of the dam busters' raids at RAF Coningsby. The Royal Air Force Battle of Britain Memorial Flight was hoping to fly one of the 2 remaining Avro Lancaster bombers over the Derwent and Lady Bower reservoirs, but high winds prevented the aircraft from taking off. 2018 marks the 100th anniversary of the formation of the RAF and the 75th anniversary of the 617th Squadron Dam Busters operation. The Dam Buster Raids. Operation Chastise was an attack on German dams on 17 May 1943 by Royal Air Force No. 617 Squadron, using an innovative bouncing bomb, which skimmed on the surface of the reservoir before hitting the dam wall and exploding. President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan speaks as British Prime Minister Theresa May listens during a press conference after their meeting at 10 Downing Street. Erdogan is in the UK for a 3-day visit, which includes a closing lecture at the Tat Lidl Forum in Oxford, an audience with the Queen and talks with Theresa May. The funeral cortege of Alfie Evans goes past Everton's Goodison Park ground in Liverpool. Doctors at Alder Hey Children's Hospital in Liverpool stopped providing life support treatment to Alfie last month after his parents, Tom Evans and Kate James, lost 2 rounds of fights in the High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court and European Court of Human Rights. Daisy May Cooper, the winner of the Female in a Comedy Award for this country, with her BAFTA. Thousands of union members marched through central London demanding a new deal for workers, in an event organised by the Trades Union Congress, TUC. Jeremy Corbyn with shipbuilding apprentices at the Fairfield Shipbuilding Museum in Govan. During a speech he called for Navy shipbuilding contracts to stay in the UK. Dominic Chilcott, right, British ambassador in Turkey, hands over a letter of apology from the UK government to Libyan dissident Abdul Hakim Belhaj, at the British consulate, in Istanbul. Abdul Hakim Belhaj and his wife, Fatima Boudker, allege they were detained in Southeast Asia in 2004 and sent to Libya to be interrogated by the regime of late dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Britain acknowledged Thursday that its intelligence agents played a role in the kidnapping and torture of an opponent of the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, a rare admission of wrongdoing by British spies. The coffin of former House of Commons Speaker Lord Michael Martin, followed by his widow Mary, is carried from St Aloysius in Glasgow after his funeral. The former Labour MP died on Sunday, April 29, after a short illness at the age of 72. Mayor of London Sadiq Khan and Labour MP Heidi Alexander. Ms Alexander is standing down from Parliament after being confirmed as London's Deputy Mayor for Transport, replacing current Deputy Mayor Val Shawcross. Arsene Wenger bids farewell to Arsenal Football Club and the stadium he helped to build in more ways than one. It was Wenger's final home game of after 22 years in charge. Arsenal sent him off with a 5-0 victory over Burnley. Manchester City celebrate with the trophy after winning the Premier League title. Anti-independence supporters wave Union Jack flags as thousands of demonstrators march in support of Scottish independence through the streets of Glasgow. Prime Minister Theresa May with her supporters during a visit to Wandsworth Town Hall, where the Conservative Party retained control of Wandsworth Council in the local elections. Jeremy Corbyn outside a polling station in Islington after voting in the local elections. A memorial to George Michael outside his house in Highgate, North London. George Michael's family have since asked fans to remove their tributes from outside the late singer's former homes for the sake of his neighbours. Leicester Morrisman during May Day celebrations at Bradgate Park in Newtown Linford, Leicestershire. Sajid Javid outside the Home Office in Westminster after he was appointed as the new Home Secretary. Celtic celebrate after winning. They confirmed winning the Scottish Premiership by beating rivals Rangers 5-0 at Celtic Park. People release balloons outside Alderhay Children's Hospital in Liverpool, following the death on Saturday morning of Alfie Evans, who was being treated at the hospital. The 23-month-old died at 2:30 a.m., parents Kate James and Thomas Evans said on Facebook. The youngster was at the center of a legal battle over his treatment that touched hearts around the world. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, right, speaks with British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, left, and Belgian Foreign Minister Didier Reynders, centre, during a meeting of the North Atlantic Council at NATO headquarters in Brussels. NATO held its last major meeting in its old headquarters, with talks focused on strained ties with Russia, a fresh peace effort in Afghanistan and a new training mission for Iraq. A protester wearing a mask depicting Facebook's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, flanked by two protesters wearing angry emoji masks, protest outside Portcullis House in central London. Facebook's CTO Mike Schroepfer appeared in front of British members of Parliament on the Digital, Culture, Media and Sport Select Committee in the wake of allegations that information on millions of its users was misused. Members of the military work in the Maltings shopping area, close to the bench where Russian former double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia were found critically ill 7 weeks ago. The area around the bench where the couple collapsed is one of 9 sites to be cleaned in an operation that is likely to take several months. A statue in honor of the first female suffragette Millicent Fawcett is unveiled as Prime Minister Theresa May and Mayor of London Sadiq Khan look on during a ceremony in Parliament Square. The statue of women's suffrage leader Millicent Fawcett is the first monument of a woman and the first designed by a woman, Turner Prize-winning artist Gillian Wearing OBE, to take a place in Parliament Square. Prince William arrives at the Lindo wing of St Mary's Hospital with his children Prince George and Princess Charlotte after his wife Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, gave birth to a son. Kenya's Eliud Kipchoge crosses the finish line to win the men's elite race at the London Marathon 2018. Team England athletes during the Commonwealth Games. Team England parade in Victoria Square, Birmingham. Varun Chopra of Essex during the Specsavers County Championship Division 1 match between Essex and Lancashire at the Chelmsford County Cricket Ground. The game is being played in the warmest April temperatures in 70 years. A young boy cools off in the fountains in Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau takes a selfie with Mayor of London Sadiq Khan and New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern at City Hall in London, during the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. They discussed gender equality and issues affecting young people with London school children. Prime Minister Theresa May hosts a meeting with leaders and representatives of Caribbean countries, at 10 Downing Street on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Anira Thomas, the first baby to be born on the NHS, addresses the Unison Health Conference at the Brighton Centre. Sir Patrick Stewart addresses the crowd during the People's Vote campaign launch on Brexit at the Electric Ballroom in Camden Town. Prime Minister Theresa May gives a press conference at Downing Street following British military action, alongside US and France, against Syria. British jets fired missiles at a Syrian military base suspected of holding chemical weapons ingredients. Even towards the end of his time as Prime Minister, he was so keen to get foreign criminals out of the country he was prepared to lose his ally Charles Clarke as Home Secretary over it. Remember a taxi driver-style rant at one of his monthly news conferences, another thing to be nostalgic about, in 2005 when he complained about people abusing the justice system and half of them get off at the end of it. I think it is just ridiculous. Overall, though, he was impatient to change things and dismissive of how things were done in the past as a model for the future. He was such a modernizer that he forced the Conservatives to accept his changes and to offer to go further. Then the pendulum swung, and now we have two parties competing to offer different versions of the 1970s. That is why there is such a huge hole in British politics. It is not just that both main parties have accepted Brexit, but that they are both offering it as part of a better yesterday. The pendulum will swing again, and then we shall see which leaders can own the future again. Survey fieldwork conducted by Sky Data on behalf of Demos. Nationally representative sample of 1,056 Sky customers, weighted to match the profile of the population. Respondents interviewed online the 30th of April to the 8th of May 2017.